Hi, my name is Manfred Schoch, and today I want to talk to you about drivers and dimensions of new digital work. We recently did a white paper on new digital work. White papers are position papers that try to analyze what practitioners are thinking about a certain topic, and they don't necessarily adhere to normal scientific standards. We asked several questions in this white papers, and those were: what are drivers of new digital work? What are obstacles or challenges to the transformation to new digital work? And how can this transformation be successful? For that, we asked 65 people. All these individuals are in higher positions of leadership. So there are some CEOs, a lot of CIOs, Chief Information Technology Officers, but also division heads or project managers that are involved in this transformation towards new digital work. And by the average time in their current role, you can see that there are a lot of senior executives or senior managers in this sample. The focus of the sample is on IT people from IT, but also some HR or general management positions are represented as well. The study can be downloaded. You can see the QR code here, and there will also be a link. And in the following slides, we'll have a small symbol that shows which insights are derived from the study and which ones are not. First of all, we asked the practitioners what is the priority of the topic new digital work in the organization, and how was it 2 years ago. And you can clearly see that 2 years ago only a few companies really followed new digital work with high or rather high priority, and that changed dramatically. You can clearly see that most do now. So this topic of new digital work has a high priority, as a hot topic amongst practitioners. And they don't only say that, but there's also personnel and financial resources that are dedicated to the topic of new digital work. And that is similar to the figures on the left, has increased substantially over the last 2 years. So basically before the pandemic and now. What are the drivers? First of all, one of the drivers is obviously that the employees become more demanding. More demanding means they seek purpose, they seek flexibility in their work. We touched on that briefly in the first video. And the reaction of the companies is that they want to be more attractive, that they want to come across as a new and exciting organization that existing employees, but also future employees want to work for. And the second one is the experience that productive work is also possible outside the office. So a lot of maybe reservations about this whole remote work thing were resolved. There were experiences that it does actually work. And therefore, executives are now increasingly willing to accept and integrate flexible work into the working models. So those are the drivers. You can see that the priority changed, but what are obstacles? Here's a word cloud of different answers that we derived from open questions. We talked about some of them in the videos. Collaboration and communication is one of them. A lot of our study participants say that collaboration and communication is a problem. And you've heard about why that might be the case. Another word here might give us a hint: personal and informal exchange really suffers. But there are other things that are associated with obstacles, and one is the management culture. And that is not always the CEOs or CIOs. Sometimes it is. Smaller companies, it might be even more problematic because The owners of the companies have been around for some time. They were successful with the old work, so why should they change the mode of working? Only because people want to be more flexible. There's some sort of resistance in the management. But there's also resistance because managers are used to managing in a certain way. They know how to manage when they can control results, when they can control whether people are there, whether people can be seen working, but it's maybe more difficult if you only have the end results to work with as a manager. You become maybe more of a coach rather than somebody who controls progress. And that is a management culture thing that some people don't necessarily want to transfer to because they're not used to it. They don't know how it works, and they haven't been successful with this in the past, but with maybe their old way of managing. Then there's obviously corporate culture, acceptance and trust, corporate loyalty, all those things that are associated with more social contact, more contact with the organization. You like to work for the people, you like to work for the company. The company has some benefits, maybe the office space looks good. The more anonymous work becomes, the more detached individuals become from their employer. But there's a host of other things. Legal issues, one of them. Employee recruitment, cybersecurity. It's not that trivial. Printing seems to be a big issue in the home office because that opens some problematic backdoors for cyber attacks, which the organizations are nowadays very sensitive towards. And there are other things like workload and work-home conflict that are maybe more employee-centric. We talked about it briefly. Employees tend to work longer when they work from home. And obviously work-home conflict may arise if you're at home. Why are you not doing things for the household maybe? Why are you not as flexible as it may seem you are? Well, those are the different obstacles and challenges associated with new digital work. Now let's look at 3 dimensions for the transformation. We clustered them according to the results from our study. One aspect that needs to be emphasized is the work design and the processes. How is work done and from which place? And one important thing is that designing the office in line with its new meaning will make it more attractive for people to work in the office. So we've talked about it being a social anchor. For that, you need to have workspaces that allow for social contact. Right, the single office where you close your door and then you put your headset on and you work remotely doesn't help you with the benefits that you look for with the physical office. Then the office use primarily as a place for collaboration and social interaction. So this is not the design but the use. We need to do things in the physical office that work better there than they work remotely. Same example with the headset. We need to restructure the workday when we're in the office to really reap those benefits. Agile organization and flexibilization of work through increasing autonomy. So employers need to let go a little bit, let employees be flexible, let them decide when to come to the office, let them decide which jobs to do first, which jobs to do second, and they really need to coach them in making good decisions rather than in controlling them. And the last point is digitalization of business processes. Obviously, if a lot of processes need a handwritten signature, then it makes it difficult. You need to wait to go to the office, sign whatever document you need to sign and send it physically. That makes a lot of processes difficult and makes the flexible work less attractive. The second part is corporate culture. We saw it in all different phases of our study that a the cultural aspect is important. There needs to be a shared will of management and employees to embrace this new model, because it does have a lot of different aspects to it, and that means a lot of change. And if people aren't ready for that change, then it's likely going to not work. Involving employees in the transformation through communication, but also involving them in decision making, because really they are the main driver for this transformation. So involve them into the decision making. Increasing autonomy and agility requires this transformational leadership rather than transactional leadership. So so that managers need to be coaches for their employees, need to work with them, help them succeed rather than control them. Considering individuality of employees and diverse teams is also important. Not every flex work situation works for every employee. We've briefly talked about individuals who have kids, individuals who don't have office spaces at home, individuals who might have other liabilities at home. You need to cater to that to really be flexible. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. And the last part is the socio-technical dimension. Are the necessary standards and capabilities in place? And that's the important aspect, do people know how to use them? So the provision of necessary infrastructure and software for digital collaboration is obviously important. We saw some examples for that. But then also IT security and cybersecurity guidelines must be met and must be in place. And one of the biggest aspects of cybersecurity is the individual, other people. A lot of times that is the weakest link in the cybersecurity chain. So we need to empower and train employees to use IT effectively and safely. And that means investing in change management, investing in training, and helping employees succeed with the IT that is provided to them. And lastly, establish standards for healthy digital collaboration or the healthy use of digital technologies. There are a lot of risks associated with this new freedom and this new autonomy. Digital stress is one aspect of it. Norms for collaboration is another one. If they're not in place, then you might feel stressed. Why is person X not answering? Do I need to answer an email that I received from my boss, even though it came over the weekend? Those are things that need to be discussed within the organizations to really make this digital work for everyone. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.